The alien's jaw shattered like glass, blue blood spraying across the metal walls. As Whiskers, the orange tabby, pounced upon the Tarian intruder, savaging the Xeno's skull with ferocious swipes of his claws. Samuel Jones had told the Tarians their views on pets would change once they saw a cat in action. And now, as he watched his pet defend their ship against the boarding party, a dark smirk crossed Samuel's lips. He had been right. Hours earlier, as Samuel stepped onto the alien tarmac of the Tarian homeworld, his guide Vega wasted no time dismissing Earth notions of animal companionship. Your kind's desire to keep lower life forms as pets is most illogical, the blue-skinned alien said, black eyes unblinking. We Tarians have moved beyond such primitive impulses. Samuel bit his tongue, not wanting to start an argument just minutes into his xenobiology mission. I respect your perspective, he lied. I'm just here to study your planet's ecosystem. But later, inside his quarters, Samuel's worries grew as a furry head popped out of his luggage. Somehow Whiskers, his beloved cat, had stowed away. Panic surged in his chest. Catarian bioscanners would detect the unauthorized creature in a heartbeat. All his research would be jeopardized if they discovered an alien animal roaming free. He had to find a way to keep Whiskers hidden, because if the Tarians learned the truth behind humanity's bond with felines, the true power of a cat's loyalty, ferocity, and cunning, Samuel feared what they might do. The Tarians could never be allowed to harness Earth's greatest weapon for themselves. The galaxy itself hung in the balance. Days passed as Samuel settled into a rhythm, spending his waking hours in the laboratory, meticulously studying the planet's unique flora and fauna. His nights were dedicated to Whiskers, ensuring his furry companion remained safely hidden within the confines of his quarters. He managed to smuggle small portions of his meals back to the room for the cat, keeping him content and quiet. One evening, as Samuel hunched over a microscope, absorbed in analyzing a peculiar sample, Whiskers grew restless. The cat paced back and forth, his tail twitching with curiosity. Unnoticed by his distracted owner, Whiskers slipped through the partially open door and ventured into the sterile, unfamiliar corridors of the Ktarian facility. Zolath, a young Ktarian scientist working late, caught a glimpse of movement in his peripheral vision. Intrigued, he turned to see a small, furry creature padding softly down the hallway. Having never encountered a cat before, Zolath's black eyes widened in a mix of wonder and concern. He cautiously followed the feline from a distance, observing its graceful movements and the way its ears twitched at the slightest sound. Suddenly, a flicker of motion caught Whiskers' attention. A small rodent-like creature native to the Ktarian homeworld scurried along the base of the wall. Whiskers froze, his instincts taking over. In a flash of orange fur, he pounced, giving chase to the fleeing rodent. The Ktarian rodent, possessing an intellect far superior to its Earth counterparts, sensed the impending danger and darted towards a ventilation grate. It slipped through the narrow opening with ease, vanishing into the maze of ducts. Undeterred, Whiskers followed, squeezing his flexible body through the tight space in pursuit of his prey. As the chase intensified, the commotion echoed through the ventilation system, a series of bangs and scuffles that reverberated throughout the facility. In the lab, Samuel's head snapped up, a sinking feeling growing in his chest. He glanced towards the empty corner where Whiskers usually slept and muttered a curse under his breath. Samuel hurried out into the corridor, his heart pounding as he frantically searched for any sign of his beloved pet. He strained his ears, trying to pinpoint the source of the disturbance while desperately hoping no one else had noticed. Unbeknownst to Samuel, the Ktarian security team had been alerted to the unusual activity. They moved swiftly through the halls, their scanners primed to detect any unauthorized presence. Samuel's palms grew clammy as he heard their approaching footsteps, realizing that time was running out. Just as the security personnel closed in on Whiskers' location, Zolath emerged from a side corridor, cradling the exhausted cat in his arms. The young scientist had managed to coax Whiskers out of the ventilation system with a morsel of native Ktarian food, earning the feline's temporary trust. Samuel froze as he turned the corner, coming face to face with Zolath and Whiskers. Relief flooded through him at the sight of his pet safe and unharmed, but the feeling was short-lived as he met Zolath's questioning gaze, realizing the gravity of the situation. The Ktarian scientist now held the key to exposing Samuel's secret, and the fate of his mission hung in the balance. Samuel's heart raced as he met Zolath's gaze, bracing himself for the consequences of his secret's discovery. But to his surprise, Zolath's expression held no judgment or hostility. Instead, a glimmer of curiosity and understanding flickered in the Ktarian's eyes. "I will not report you," Zolath said softly, gently stroking Whiskers' fur, "but I must know more about this creature and the bond you share." Samuel hesitated, weighing the risks of trusting Zolath against the potential benefits of an ally. I don't know if I can—" "Please," Zolath implored, his voice filled with genuine fascination. "I believe there is much we can learn from studying your pet, its behavior, its impact on our society. It could change everything we know." Samuel's resolve wavered. He knew he had no choice but to trust Zolath for Whiskers' sake. "Okay," he agreed, his voice barely above a whisper. "But we must be careful. No one else can know." Over the following days, Samuel and Zolath worked together in secret, observing Whiskers and conducting discreet experiments. They marveled at the cat's ability to express affection, to provide comfort and companionship. Zolath found himself drawn to the feline, his scientific curiosity giving way to a deeper emotional connection. But their clandestine research did not go unnoticed. Vega, Samuel's guide, grew suspicious of the human's increasingly reclusive behavior. He noticed the hushed conversations between Samuel and Zolath, the furtive glances and abrupt silences whenever he entered the room. Determined to uncover the truth, Vega began to investigate. He tracked Samuel's movements, monitored his communications, and searched for any clues that might reveal the nature of his unusual activities. One night, as Samuel and Zolath were engrossed in a behavioral experiment with Whiskers, the door to the lab suddenly burst open. Vega stood in the doorway, his eyes widening in shock and outrage as he took in the scene before him. "What is the meaning of this?" Vega demanded, his voice trembling with anger. "An unauthorized creature? Secret experiments? Explain yourselves." Samuel and Zolath exchanged a panicked glance, realizing the gravity of their situation. They knew they had to act quickly, to find a way to convince Vega of the importance of their research. "Vega, please," Samuel began, his voice calm and measured. "We can explain. This creature, Whiskers, he represents something extraordinary, a bond between humans and animals that goes beyond mere companionship." Zolath nodded, stepping forward to support Samuel's words. "We believe that studying this relationship could have profound implications for our society. The way this creature provides comfort, the way it understands and responds to emotions, it's unlike anything we've ever encountered." But Vega remained unmoved, his expression hardening with each passing moment. "You have violated our laws, our very way of life," he said coldly. "This unauthorized research cannot be allowed to continue. I have no choice but to report you to the authorities." Samuel's heart sank, the weight of Vega's words crushing his hopes for understanding. He knew that if the Ktarian authorities discovered Whiskers, not only would his mission be jeopardized, but the cat's life would be in grave danger. The tension in the room grew thick, the silence broken only by the soft purring of Whiskers, blissfully unaware of the high stakes surrounding his presence. Samuel and Zolath exchanged a look of desperation, both realizing that they were running out of options. They had to find a way to convince Vega, to make him see the potential benefits of their research before it was too late. As Vega reached for his communicator, ready to summon the authorities, Samuel stepped forward, his voice trembling with emotion. "Wait," he pleaded, his eyes locked on Vega's. "Before you make that call, there's something you need to understand, something that could change the course of our future." As Vega reached for his communicator, Samuel's mind raced. He had to act fast. "Wait," he said, his voice trembling. "There's another way. Let us show you the true potential of human-animal bonds. Zolath stepped forward. I have an idea. A private gathering with high-ranking officials. We introduce Whiskers, let them see his effect firsthand. Samuel's heart pounded. It was a huge risk, but what choice did they have? He met Zolath's gaze and nodded. Let's do it. Days later, Samuel and Zolath slipped into the dimly lit room, Whiskers hidden in a carrier. Catarian officials milled about, sipping drinks, their conversation a low hum. Samuel's palms sweated as he set the carrier down. He glanced at Zolath, who gave a reassuring nod. With a deep breath, Samuel unlatched the door. Whiskers stepped out tail high and surveyed his new surroundings. The officials fell silent, staring at the strange creature. Whiskers padded up to a female official and rubbed against her leg, purring. She froze, then slowly reached down to stroke his fur. A smile spread across her face. Emboldened, Whiskers wove between the guests, eliciting gasps and murmurs. They crouched to pet him, marveling at his softness, his warmth. The room buzzed with excited chatter as the officials took turns holding Whiskers, laughing as he played. Samuel and Zolath exchanged hopeful glances. Their plan was working. But then Zalok, a grizzled military leader, strode forward. Let me see this creature, he said, reaching for Whiskers. The moment Zalok's hand touched Whiskers' fur, he jerked back as if burned. His face reddened, his breath coming in wheezes. He clawed at his throat, gasping. What's happening? An official cried as Zalok collapsed to the floor, his body convulsing. Panic erupted. Officials shouted for medics, recoiling from Whiskers in fear. Samuel and Zolath rushed to Zalok's side, their hearts in their throats. As medics swarmed in, Samuel held Zalok down, feeling the Catarian's muscles spasm beneath his hands. Zolath fumbled through a medkit, searching for an antihistamine, anything to counteract the reaction. But as the chaos swirled around them, a chilling realization settled over Samuel. This was no ordinary allergy. This was something far more dangerous, something that could shatter the fragile peace between their worlds. And as Zalok's eyes rolled back, as the medics fought to stabilize him, Samuel knew that everything had changed. The fate of his mission, of Whiskers, of the entire galaxy, suddenly hung in the balance. He met Zolath's gaze, saw his own fear reflected back. They were in uncharted territory now, and the path ahead was dark and uncertain. The only thing Samuel knew for sure was that they couldn't turn back. Not now, not ever. Zalok's body finally stilled, his breathing evening out as the medication took effect. But the damage was done. The officials whispered amongst themselves, casting wary glances at Whiskers, at Samuel and Zolath. In the wake of Zalok's near-fatal allergic reaction, the gathered Catarian officials erupted into a heated debate. Some, their faces etched with fear, argued vehemently that the incident was irrefutable proof of the dangers posed by integrating foreign species into their society. They demanded that Whiskers be removed from the planet immediately, their voices rising with each passing second. Others, however, stood firm in their belief that the benefits of interspecies relationships far outweighed the risks. They spoke passionately of the profound impact Whiskers had on them, their eyes shining with a newfound understanding of the power of companionship. As the debate raged on, a sense of unease began to permeate the room. Whispers of a mysterious illness spreading among the Catarian population started to circulate, the details growing more alarming with each hushed conversation. Samuel and Zolath, still reeling from the events of the evening, found themselves pulled into the fray as reports of severe allergic reactions and respiratory distress flooded in from across the planet. The symptoms, they realized with growing dread, were eerily similar to those suffered by Zalok. Panic gripped the streets as more and more Catarians fell ill, the authorities struggling to contain the outbreak. Hospitals overflowed with patients, their anguished cries echoing through the halls. The once pristine cities of the Catarian homeworld descended into chaos, the very fabric of their society unraveling before their eyes. Amidst the turmoil, Samuel and Zolath worked tirelessly to uncover the cause of the illness, their minds racing with possibilities. They pored over data, analyzed samples, and conducted countless experiments, desperate for answers. It was only when they delved deeper into the Tarian ecosystem that the truth began to emerge. The illness, they discovered, was not caused by whiskers at all, but rather by a rare virus that had lain dormant for centuries, waiting for the right trigger to unleash its devastating effects. The trigger, it turned out, was a protein found in the saliva of the Tarian rodents, the very same creatures that Whiskers had been hunting during his escape. The realization hit Samuel and Zolath like a ton of bricks, their hearts sinking with the weight of the implications. As the death toll mounted and society teetered on the brink of collapse, Samuel and Zolath redoubled their efforts to find a cure. They worked around the clock, fueled by a desperate need to save lives and restore order to the planet. But it was only when they made a shocking discovery that a glimmer of hope emerged. The antibodies present in Whisker's blood, they realized, held the key to combating the virus. The feline's unique biology, shaped by centuries of evolution on Earth, had equipped him with a natural defense against the alien pathogen. The revelation, however, came with a terrible price. To synthesize a cure, they would need a significant amount of Whisker's blood, an amount that would almost certainly prove fatal for the beloved cat. Samuel, his heart heavy with the weight of the decision before him, found himself faced with an impossible choice. To save an entire alien race, he would have to sacrifice the one creature that had brought him solace and companionship in this strange, distant world. In the end, with tears streaming down his face and his voice choked with emotion, Samuel made the only choice he could. He nodded to Zolath, giving him permission to extract the precious antibodies from Whisker's body. The process was agonizing, each moment stretching out into an eternity, as Samuel watched the life drain from his beloved pet's eyes. Whiskers, ever loyal and trusting, purred softly as the needle pierced his skin, his warmth fading with each passing second. When it was over, Samuel cradled Whisker's lifeless body in his arms, his heart shattered beyond repair. He had saved countless lives, but the cost had been higher than he ever could have imagined. As the cure was synthesized and distributed across the planet, the Tarians began to recover, their bodies slowly healing from the ravages of the virus. But for Samuel and Zolath, the scars ran deep, the memory of Whisker's sacrifice forever etched into their minds. In the days that followed, as Samuel prepared to return to Earth, he found himself grappling with the knowledge that his mission had taken a turn he never could have predicted. What had begun as a simple study of an alien ecosystem had ended in tragedy and loss, the price of progress paid in blood and tears. The Tarians, too, found themselves forever changed by their encounter with Whiskers. They began to re-evaluate their long-held beliefs about the value of companion animals, their hearts open to the possibility of bonds that transcended species and worlds. But even as they mourned the loss of the brave little creature who had given his life for them, they knew that the price of this revelation would haunt them for generations to come. The story of Whiskers, the earthling cat who had saved their world, would become a legend, a testament to the power of love, sacrifice, and the unbreakable bonds between humans and their animal companions. You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.